Alright guys, today I have something very special for you. This is going to be the beginning of a many-part series in which I show you guys the hardest, craziest, and quickest combos, mechanics, and tips and tricks that you can use to become a god tier Akali and carry all of your games by yourself without your terrible teammates. This is going to be the highest level mechanics possible in 10 minutes. And if this video gets 10,000 likes, I will do a part 2. And if that video gets 10,000 likes, we'll do a part 3. Anyways, let's not waste any more time with the intro. I'm going to be filling your guys' brains with the Akali knowledge. So let's do it. Now the first thing I want to mention is that every single ability Akali has can be cancelled by or be comboed with one another. A lot of people don't know this, but things as simple as using your passive Q, R2, and your E2 at the same exact time are possible. As you can see in that clip against Antibot, I can use almost every spell simultaneously. What's up everybody? This video is sponsored by Buff. Buff allows you to earn while you're playing some of your favorite games like League of Legends, Valorant, Fortnite, and much more. You can just let it run in the background while you game and you easily earn Buff coins. You can go to their market and redeem your Buff coins for games, Riot points, gift cards, game skins, and even Razer gaming hardware. Buff is partnered with Overwolf, which means that they are completely legit. So guys, right now, go to the link down below in the description and start earning your Buff coins so that you can get that in-game skin you've always wanted. We all know there's new KDA skins, you can get it with Buff. For this and pretty much everything we go over in this video, you're probably going to want to go into Practice Tool to practice it. Next up is something I want to mention for Akali's Shroud. You may think to just use it as soon as possible, but there are better places than just in the middle of nowhere. You should throw your Shroud in areas where it turns into two separate sections or there's a crack leading to a brush or something like that. Give yourself more opportunities to turn corners, go into brushes, and overall if you throw your Shroud against a wall, it's going to spread out further than if you were to just throw your Shroud in the middle of a lane or in the river. The next thing I want to mention is how to get to lane faster, and when I mean faster, I mean much faster. If you're waiting for gold, if you're waiting for health even, and you have your W and your E up like you should if you're going back, you can actually use your W very far out of the lane, then use your E, run back to your base, buy the item, and fly towards the lane with your E2 to get to lane maybe 5 or 10 seconds faster, which can get you extra minions or which can get you kills you wouldn't have gotten. Very important to do this just to be efficient as Akali. Next up we have Akali's R2 hitbox. A lot of people don't know this, but Akali's R2, the second part of her ultimate, actually has a hitbox behind the direction you cast. So say you cast it going to the right, you can actually still hit enemies behind you to the left. This is extremely useful if you're going into dive enemies and you want to just ult right away from the tower or right away from the enemy team. It's extremely essential to practice this because it's going to save you from dying in a ton of different situations. Next thing I want to mention is something no one ever thinks about. When you are tower diving enemies at level 6 with any form of classic tower dive combo, and if you're not familiar with those, you can check out the Ultimate Akali guide, I'll leave a link to that down below. But unless you need the energy from your Shroud to Q and finish off a target, you want to save your W for when you are running away from the tower to get that burst of movement speed to potentially take one less tower shot. Unless you know that the jungler might be there and you're not going to die to the tower, in which case you obviously want to use your Shroud for if you get ganked afterwards. Next thing to mention is that Akali can actually do a lot of damage under tower to enemy champions because even though she is technically melee, her passive and her Q are both pretty ranged, so essentially every time a melee champion is farming under their tower against you, you can wait until the enemy tower shoots your minion, and at that moment you throw your Q, or at that moment you passive proc them, and you can essentially chunk them out while they're trying to farm. Very useful because if they don't recall, you can dive them. If they do recall, you just get a big lane lead anyways. The next thing I want to mention is about Akali's E. You can actually get two separate Lich Bane or Sheen procs with your E if you use it properly and fast enough. You use your E and then auto attack really quick, and then use your E again right before it would expire and get another Lich Bane proc. This is very useful if you're trying to take a red or blue buff, maybe even Baron or Dragon, any form of objective obviously. The next thing I want to mention is clearing jungle as Akali. If you're ever trying to take raptors, you want to auto attack one of the small raptors first and pull them all towards you, and then Q them when they're in a nice little cone, rather than just opening up by queuing them, because you're going to miss one and it's just going to take way longer because you're not going to have any energy left for the small one. You're using your E on the big one, so you just do it, trust me. Now the next thing I want to mention is extremely crucial regardless of what people say, and I've seen someone that plays Akali that's pretty popular not do this, but guys, you need to use quick cast if you want to play Akali at a high level. I don't care what you say, it's simply impossible to cast all of your spells fast enough for any form of one-shot combo. Akali has potential to burst out champions before they can use exhaust, before Tryndamere can press his R, before champions can use their summoner heal, but you're not going to be able to use your combos quickly if you do not have quick cast. It's worth the investment even if you're not used to it, but in general you do want to use quick cast just to be an efficient player. Otherwise you are just not going to be able to maximize your play rate as Akali. Now the next thing I want to mention is actually macro based for Akali. Guys, I don't know if you can tell, but Akali essentially does no damage to Dragon or Baron, like genuinely nothing. She is less useful than a minion. So because of that, Akali is way more efficient blocking the enemy team from stopping your team or trying to steal your team from taking the objective. What I mean by blocking is just be in between the objective your team is doing and the enemy's base and try to kill one of the enemies, if not stall them out from stopping your team from taking the objective. It just relieves a lot of pressure from your team. You might even get kills on your end if you catch out a squishy champion face checking to go ward, and Akali has so much mobility that it is a relatively safe play, not to mention your shroud can also help you escape. Therefore, it is just overall a really good idea a lot of the time, and I highly recommend you guys practice doing that instead of going for the objective itself, you know, unless like you literally need the 2 damage or you need someone to tank the Baron. Very rare situations, most of the time, block it. Now guys, this next thing is really important. This really attractive YouTuber named Professor Akali made this Akali guide. It's called the Season 10 Ultimate Akali Guide. I'll leave a link to it down below. I heard he spent over 100 hours on it, and it's the best possible League of Legends guide for any champion, period. So you guys should definitely check that out. It's also a very extremely useful resource for Akali. And on that note, I heard if you like the video, you also get 500 LP worth of Akali skill, so let's do that as well. Now guys, the next thing I want to mention is using your R2 mid dash by flashing at the end of the cast. This means that even if enemies are not next to each other, but they're within flashing range, you can hit one of them, execute them, and then redirect the end of your R2, your execute, and flash and finish off someone else. I've actually done this before a few times. It's extremely worth learning. Just, it's going to take a little bit of practice to figure it out according to your ping. Practice tool will be your best friend, but definitely check this one out. Do it, practice it, just do it. Now guys, really quickly, the next thing I want to mention is fleet footwork and why you shouldn't use it. Professional players use it and challenger players use it because they are playing against the best players in the world that are also counterpicking them. You don't need fleet footwork to go against any matchup that is against anyone that is not the best player in the world or one of the best. These gold players or even diamond players aren't going to be harassing you every time you go in for a minion. Therefore, you can just save up, you can survive with 2 or 3 potions, and then you can kill them with a real keystone. You can be more useful in team fights with a real keystone. Simply put, it's not important. I've mentioned this in other videos, but if you're new here, I had to throw it out there. Use Conquer, use Electrocute, just don't use Fleet Footwork, please. Now the next thing I want to mention is that you can still cancel your E2 with your ultimate even after they made Akali's ultimate single cast. All you have to do is be in range of someone, but say you do connect to a tank and that tank is next to an AD carry, you can fly towards the tank and redirect onto the AD carry and one-shot them. It doesn't matter if the R is a single target now, you can still do it. Next thing I want to mention is a tip for you guys. Blue Plant completely reveals Akali in her shroud, whether it's used on you before you cast it or once you're in the middle of your shroud. Be careful when you're spotted by it because you are no longer invisible throughout the entire duration of it. Had to learn that the hard way, and I'm here to share that information with you guys. The next thing I want to talk about is against champions like Annie, Shaco, and Ivern. For those champions that have ultimates that summon different units, they have a very set distance before they teleport back to their owner or their summoner. Guys, if you know how this works, you can actually use this against them. You can use Akali's global E range to attach to the summoned unit and fly towards the enemy. It's actually a lot more abusable than you'd think, depending on the situation obviously, but if you know to do it, it can actually set you up for some really cool plays. Next up, we have something very subtle but very important, especially for level 6 tower dives. Guys, if you ever notice when I'm tower diving an enemy and I combo them, but then I'm waiting to R2 them and finish them off, use the execute under their tower, sometimes I back up before I R2 them to get a max range R2. This is because Akali's R2 has a set distance. No matter what, you can't shoot your ultimate short, you can't shoot it long, it's always going to take you the same distance depending on where you cast it from. So knowing that, I'm actually backing up a little bit so I don't take several tower shots by flying deep into their tower. I'm minimizing the damage I take. It's a very small thing that I do that saves me a lot of the time, and it's just another thing that can make you a better player. And there you guys have it. Those are some of the things you want to be doing to play Akali at the highest level possible. And guys, if you want to see a part 2 to this, be sure to leave a like, 10,000 likes, and we do a part 2. Leave a comment down below if you learned anything, and be sure to subscribe because 1 million subscribers is my only goal in life. Please help me out, subscribe, and have a good day. Peace out.